let's open things up here for people to talk again. This time with me and to the whole group. And don't be shy about repeating something you said to your partner in the room, because all of us might want to hear it. Of like what you noticed this week practicing with the theme of tenderness, or what you were noticing tonight. Anybody who'd like to share about that? So Leslie.
So I'll share what I shared last week. Am I echoing for you?
No.
All right, I am for me, but that's okay.
Sometimes the computer figures that out on its own and stops it. So
I really especially like your guided meditations this week and last week. As I was saying to Stephen, like I've been in this body for a long time and I've never traveled into it like I have, like you've offered us to. And it's just fascinating, you know, a body that you're so used to for so long, to do something new with it. And it's just such a cool thing to do. So I wanted to tell you that.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Happy to do something new. You've been coming a long time, so new might not be so easy to come up with. But
well, it doesn't need to. No, with you, it doesn't need to be new. But it's just a fascinating thing to do. You know, when you're as old as I am and you've been living in it for so long.
Exactly. Yeah.
To be offered something new to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been kind of working with my eyes. You know, I don't think I was aware how much tension I hold in my eyes. And part of that might be because, like, I wear reading glasses, but sometimes I don't, you know, like something. So there's probably a certain amount of just ordinary strain. But there's also just a sense of like something that is more like out there in the world can actually relax. So that's just the little place that I've been exploring in terms of the body, is like eyes and what they do inside, and what actually happens when they relax, and maybe you get a few tears even when they're not so tight.
I really like the fluid part and just going in the center of our bodies and what you do with our heart and breath. Yeah, that's my favorite parts.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can go.
Okay, Linda.
Yeah. It was all going along nicely, the body scan. And then at some point you said something like, how are you feeling, or how are you? And I said, good, to myself. Feels kind of neutral, feels sort of pleasant. And then I thought, how weird, because for 2 months I've been in a funk and depressed and sad all the time. And I thought, so where did that feeling go? It's like it's a thought that just sort of disappeared. And yet it's almost like that's not the real me, that sadness or that feeling of being in a funk. Like it's not, I was sensing it's not me, but then questioning, why does that take up seemingly so much of sort of who I think I am, or how I'm feeling, or how I'm perceiving this moment in time, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. That sounds like a powerful observation
Yes,
to realize that the depressed version of you
right
isn't who you actually are.
Yeah, right.
You know, because when we think that's who we are, and it is really a thought that makes us think that that's what we are, it sticks to us like glue.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
And some of it is situational, because I didn't have my car for a month after it was driven into in Amherst. Then I was sick the month of March. And so some of it was situational, but I do have that tendency to go in and out of that. The other thing that happened during the body scan was it felt like my whole body was my beating heart, and except for the top of my head, which was tingling. And then those other thoughts came along.
Yeah. I mean, literally, your whole body feels the beat of the heart. It's really, it's not It's not something you're making up, but there's kind of a
Right.
pulse.
Right.
Because the blood goes through the whole body, and that kind of like reverberation of the fluids, it just changes everything for me when I think of the body as like a big sack of fluids,
Mm.
and not this kind of bony thing, but it's resonant. It's resonant. So one thing that occurs to me, is the next time that you're feeling depressed, just kind of check in with yourself and say, is that all of me?
Mm.
I know. And is that what I experienced, in Mark's class, is that still here? That
Mm.
not depressed me, is that still here too?
Yeah.
And check,
Right.
look
Yeah.
for it.
I'll try that.
Okay, yeah, because we tend to get stuck in identities, and so it's great to slip out of them.
Especially in the winter.
Especially in the winter. Yeah. I can say, I'm headed out to be with my granddaughter, and in terms of this class, I hadn't planned this class because of that, because of that in mind. But I do think it's perfect. It's perfect for exploring tenderness, and my I was sharing with the person in the room with me about my experience of going to the vet with my dog. And I think it's kind of a similar thing to being with a baby, but I just, when I was there, I just felt my heart with her, this being who's trusting these humans, and these humans are doing weird things to her. They're poking her and giving her things to take in her mouth that probably taste kind of nasty, and there she was, just kind of being present, and you could see some of her reactions, but she was really very patient, and as long as she got a treat, she was fine. And so I'm just describing a scene that maybe many of you who have pets know, that scene. And we've certainly had dogs and cats who have responded much less cooperatively in that setting. And then sometimes my heart goes out to the vet, but and also the animal. But there's something about an animal that is so touches our tender side, and I'm expecting that too with the 5-month-old. So who else would like to just share what happened this week, what they noticed? Annalise.
I'll share my experience with Conway. So, being a new person to this group, and then being asked to do a breakout, I was a little nervous. And then, but I have to say, the tenderness of Conway and his ease of sharing really was quite comforting and easy. So I thank him for that. Yeah, and everyone for welcoming me into this group. I may have said that I was part of your group many years ago, but I'm really glad to be back, and so thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it really matters what human beings do around us. We are social animals. We've got these little things out, these little feelers, and so yeah, it really matters. And you can kind of pick up your safety with someone. That's wonderful. Nikki.
Yeah. Well, this week, whenever I thought about meditating, I just thought, I just don't want to in the worst way. I'm not going to do it. And I
Thank you
did.
for being willing to say that in in a meditation class, Mickey.
Somebody else has felt that way at
Other
times.
people feel that too, but you're willing to say it. So beautiful.
So, but during this meditation, I actually did try to listen to last week's once, and the phone rang after about a minute, and that was the end of that. So I did make one attempt, but this time, and I usually am pretty focused when I'm listening to your guided meditation. Um, I really, I mean, my head was fairly busy, but my body, see, I can sit still without a problem. And my body, I really could feel, and I don't know if I'm imagining it, but I kind of feel like the boundaries dissolve a little bit and there's just sensation. And then I did go over, why do I meditate? Ask myself. And I was glad that I did that because I needed to remind myself there are really good reasons to do it. But I think so. I think we'll see. Maybe this week I won't be so resistant. And, um, but it's good if I say it out loud. Then that helps.
It kind of breaks the spell a little to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious what you came up with why you meditate, if you don't
Yeah.
mind me asking.
I will be happy to say it. It has to do, well, I'm a person who believes that you don't choose your feelings or even your thoughts, but you can, through meditation and learning, choose how to respond. So I don't condemn myself for feeling angry, because I do sometimes feel angry, but I think through the awareness that I can get in meditation, I can notice the anger and choose whether or not I want to say something nasty to somebody, because I have been known to do that once or twice. And so I'd rather not do that. I'd rather be able to make a choice about the anger, about almost anything. So meditation is about learning to notice those feelings and thoughts, and just that noticing gives you that little space where I can make a decision about how to respond. So that's not, there are other reasons to meditate, but at this point in my life, those reasons are good enough.
All right, thank you. Thank you for telling us why you meditate. And you're right. I mean, we could ask everybody to answer that question, and there'd probably be quite a range of answers. But yours is inspiring. So thank you. All right. Anyone else want to share tonight? What's happening with you?
I liked having the breakout. I didn't think I would, but it was really energizing because I had a very nice person to speak to, but it was very energizing and I liked that.
All right. Thank you for the feedback. I used to do this when we were in person all the time. And it's a little weird because in Zoom, you can't hear the noise in the room like there was, when we were all in the room together. And there's a way that I felt like I could feel the moment to stop. And this is just kind of all blind. But I realized, we can still do that. We can still have that kind of one-on-one contact with each other. And I really do think it builds kind of trust and community to do this. So I'm glad I got over my initial I don't know how to do this. It's actually very easy. So I noticed the word trying. Trying is a really funny word. Like when you say I'm trying to accept, what's the truth? I don't accept, right? Isn't that kind of what the word trying is saying? Because if you accept, you accept. But if you're trying to accept, you're basically telling yourself, I don't accept this. So why don't give that a little space, that kind of no inside. Just acknowledge it. there's something in you that won't allow your fear. And it should have some space in the conversation. And maybe it needs to be heard in some way. Not necessarily be given all the power, but just heard what that side of you is that won't accept fear, can't accept fear. You know, I'll just kind of like give you a clue. I bet the side of you that can't accept your fear is also afraid. Just guessing. But you're gonna have to see what that is that like I can't allow myself to be afraid. It's not acceptable. Who is that, and what's going on there? You know, and even that side of us that like refuses to feel. I've got that. I have the feeling that other people have that too. There's a side of me that like I'm not going to feel that. It's worth getting to know that side and where it's coming from, and ironically, what it actually feels. What the side of us that doesn't want to feel is actually feeling, because there's a real feeling there too. All right, enough on that. I think. Anyone else want to tell us what happened this week? What on the tenderness front or any other kind of front that matters?
I'll share.
Nancy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was telling my partner, I've been reading a lot of Joko Beck recently, a Zen Buddhist person who died some time ago. And if I would summarize that her basic teaching is just that our job is to meet each moment as it is. Okay, that's whether something awful is happening or whether something very ordinary is happening. Mostly very ordinary things are happening. To be there for it, right? To meet each moment. And of course, I hardly ever succeed in doing that, but like the 1 out of 10,000 moments where I feel like I do, what comes up is tenderness. So I think they're synonymous in a way. It's like, which surprised me.
Yeah, you figured out the trick.
Yeah. Because when you meet it, it's like you let something down, you let something go, and you're just open, you're vulnerable, you're whatever to it. It is a tender feeling.
Yes.
So that was sort of my realization this week.
All right. Well, thank you. That's a big one. This is kind of the direction that mindfulness tends, is towards tenderness. And having what is touch us.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It's letting what is touch you. Yeah.
Yes, letting what is touch you. It's, I think when I was an early student of Buddhism, the whole mindfulness thing I thought was such a kind of head thing, like I'm supposed to know what's happening moment to moment, And it took me a long time to realize actually showing up moment to moment is to let what is touch me. And it's so much more fun, than to take on this task of I got to be mindful. It's just has a very different feeling to it. So thank you, Nancy. Did anyone find themselves de-instrumentalizing? Actually consciously doing that, catching themselves and doing that. I'm curious if that was a helpful kind of idea. I can say I tried it in a conversation where, it was just really just somebody on the phone, and the call was about getting something done, and I just sort of let myself be open to the person I was talking to in a different way, not just, the information exchange and I don't know that we necessarily said anything differently, but it was a different experience on my part of actually, kind of being touched by this other personality on the other end of the line that it's a stranger that I don't know. And then I had this medical procedure, which was in person, and it was a similar sort of thing that I just decided I was going to be very, chatty with the person who was the technician. And it's sort of like, I feel like there's a kind of a trance that I'm sometimes in where, this is what this is about. This is about getting the scan done. And they have a job and I do what they say. And I don't know, there's just this kind of trance. And something kind of like broke the trance. And it wasn't just about getting this scan done. It was about, I'm with this other human being. And she's got a job and I have something to do, but it had just a very different feel to it. And in that case, we did end up kind of having this sort of banter, which was kind of fun. But I just recognize how going into many situations, I'm just, focused on the task and not necessarily more open to whatever that experience offers. And one of the things that I'm touched by children is the way they go into any situation and they're like open to what are the possibilities of play here, what are the possibilities of like having a good time, and which can be very frustrating to the parents who may have like we need to get out to the car, we need to do something, but their minds are in a certain kind of state which allows them to just be open to a lot of different possibilities. So anyway, that's my reflection on that. So anyone else want to share about the week? Okay, Andra.
I actually had kind of a profound experience with the meditation this week. It wasn't that I noticed something particular during the my meditating, but at least one day, and I think it lasted for a couple more days. After meditating, I felt this real sense of well-being and the little, jabbering critical voice was very quiet. And I went through it the whole day, really noticing that. It's quite striking because that's not how I normally am. And I credit the kind of unusual experience of going inside to the soft, tender places. Somehow that, I don't know, created a sense of safety in the world or something. So that's what I wanted to share.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. I'm happy for you. And I think you're right. I think there's something about the meditation that's allowing that safety, allowing you to be somewhere else in your being than in your thoughts. All of that. So beautiful. Thank you.